Hello, 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 hello. I hope you can hear and see me. Everything should be okay. I have a minor tech difficulty here. Normally what I do is I share my iPad desktop stream, and I can then see chats and chat to everyone and do all sorts of things. It's really clever and cool, and it's brilliant, and so occasionally it doesn't have a problem, but it seems to have had one today, so that's okay. I'm going to get on with it. I've got a load of stuff to do. Well, I'll just give everyone, this is where you hear the orchestra play, sort of tune up at the start of a play or something. They're all just going to, I'll run through some of these things I've got to do. I've got a Durham Red, a Dan Dare, a Dread. That's all the D's taken care of. Toby, Halo Jones. So Dread, Toby and Halo Jones are all for the same person. And he wants like a triptych, like 3 of them all together. So I might have to think about that for a wee minute. Kano Bad Company, Judge Dredd with a badge. That's a rude word. And I forgot there are kids occasionally watch this. So let's call him Mr. Zane. We'll call him Mr. Zane. There is a lot of Michaels on that list. 3 of those Michaels are the same. That's the same Michael. A man who wanted a triptych. So that's a different Michael. And that's so Zane, Mr. Zane, Mean Machine. I've got a choice here, so I could do anything. I might take suggestions, we'll see. And then a Catwoman. And then probably, depending on how we feel at the end of it, I could round it all off with a couple of 1-minute quickie sketches just for the crack, just to see how it goes. So, again, slight frustration. I can't see everything that I normally can see, so I can still see the chat, but I think I'm a couple of minutes behind everything. So if it takes me a minute or two to respond to any questions you've got, that's why. I'm also I'm fully adorned with my Comics Are For Everyone shirt, which when I bought was really massive and seems to have shrunk. One of us, it's either shrunk or I've got larger. I think we know which direction it really went. So let me just check one thing. Check. Okay. Right. So, paper. This is going to be the last one for probably July. No, this will be the last one for this month, because next week is Father's Day, and I don't want to do anything on Father's Day for my kids. I do want to do stuff with my kids. And then the following month is July, and it's sort of traditionally July holidays in Northern Ireland, so generally you wipe off the entire month, if you have any sense, and vanish for a while, which is what we plan to do. We'll still be home, but we'll be in and out and away and stuff. So now I have to find a pencil. Pencil located. This is my trusty Graph Gear 1000 Pentel. I use a HB lead if you're interested in that. So let's see Durham Red. I've got like 3 devices here. So I've got my trusty iPhone, which is giving you the picture from here. I've got a desktop computer, which is giving you the picture from this bit. And I've got an iPad Pro, which is giving me a view of what you guys are all seeing. And I've got a, what else have I got? Oh, hello, Henry and Richard, the 2000 AD boards. And I've got my son's other iPad, which I'm using basically to look up reference and save me having to run around like I've been doing constantly. So, Durham Red. The weird thing about this, right, is that a Durham Red sketch is essentially what led to my first 2000 AD work. Because when I did a Durham Red sketch on a webcam. And this was, like, we're talking early days of webcams, we're just talking 99? No, yeah, it must have been 99 or 2000. And there were no sort of, if you wanted a fancy webcam, it was hard to do. Nobody had decent internet. It was all very, it was all very difficult. And I was super into tech stuff, so I ended up getting a webcam, linking it up to a Apache web server, which was running off my own computer. And from the Apache web server, I was then able to kind of send these photos that were taken every 5 minutes. But because this was the early days, everyone watched it. Andy Diggle, who was then editor, watched me draw a Durham Red, and afterwards kind of went, I went to a comic convention to show him my artwork, and he kind of went, "Oh, I saw you draw that Durham Red. That was pretty cool. I'll give you some work." So that's kind of the story of me getting some 2080 work from a Durham Red sketch. It is enormously sweaty in the house at the moment. I hope you're all dealing with this heat slightly better than I am. I mean, maybe it's like Northern Ireland is famously very damp and very sort of rainy, and it's not usually warm. And we are warm at the moment, and it is not nice. Not nice for me. So anyway, so again, I'm probably doing Mark Harrison here, because like I'm not gonna lie. Like Carlos has a very particular look, and I don't know if I can mimic it, whereas I can get close, I think, to what Mark Harrison did. It's slightly tougher because my eyesight is going a little bit. I definitely, like, there are two things I want to achieve when lockdown is over. I know it's starting to fade now, the lockdown stuff, but when it properly when they find whatever it is they need to find to allow us to start going back into close proximity again, I would very much like to get my eyes tested and to get a haircut. Those are my two fundamental goals whenever we can do all of that. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for. So it's weird. I just have to look at this slightly artificially higher than I would ideally like because of the camera, but actually I don't think the camera's in the way too much. So Durham Red has in the Carlos version, she has spiky hair here, and I'm not really going to do that Carlos version. I'm going to do this version, slightly bobby hair. Is something funny about her eyes, or is she just she's got eyes? I don't know. She's got eyes, that's for sure. I am using DuckDuckGo, by the way, for image searching, because image searching on DuckDuckGo. Yes, I just tried the Barnard Castle, I suppose, for an eye test. Image searching in DuckDuckGo is closer to what the old Google image search used to be. I find now if I do image searching on Google, it's such a pain in the backside to find. Number one, 90% of it's flipping Pinterest, and number two, it's like hard to even get a bigger view of the image. So I'm boiling here. Look at this. Can you see the sweat glistening off my hands? That's how warm I am. I've got my window right beside me, and it is wide open. I'm not very happy about this, actually. This drone. This is the way it goes. Sometimes you'll find yourself going, this is not as good as I would like it to be. Let's rub out our eyes and go again, will we, Paul? Let's go for a sharper face. Yes, I make mistakes. I use erasers. Let's see, can I get in here closer? If I move that camera a wee bit out of the way. So the weird thing, the glasses I'm wearing right now, I'm actually too close to the page for me to be able to see properly. When I was younger, well, even now still, I would sometimes get really close to the page, and I'd kind of defocus my eyes a little bit because I don't necessarily want to see it entirely in focus, or never really did. So I think that's what's damaged my eyesight long term. So thanks to everyone who's joined in previously on this show and watched it. I'm sure there's a few of you who've probably watched it non-stop, and there's definitely a few of you who've got sketches. I hope you're happy with those sketches. I very much enjoyed doing them. They were fun to do, but also it was a nice little bolt to the income. Let's give her a knowing smile, actually. So as I say, the upshot is this is the last show, no show through July. I quite enjoy doing this, so I don't mind making it a semi-permanent fixture. After July, June, July, so back in August, I suppose, and then we'll take it from there. We'll see from there if we can get. It's always difficult because you sort of build up momentum for a thing, and then if you stop it at all, the momentum's gone, and it's kind of, you sort of think to yourself, oh, I should have kept going. I've lost half the audience that I had. So that's the difficulty. Who, apart from me, who should reboot? Yes, feel free to throw questions in, by the way, unless I mean, I will definitely run it. I know I have a reputation for talking a lot, but I will run out of things to say, I'm pretty sure. Who should reboot Strontium Dog? Henry Flint. Surely Henry should do it. Henry could do it. But, you know, in Henry's inimitable style, not sort of... I know there's an echo. I think Henry will say himself, there's an echo of Carlos's work in his, and sometimes I think he leans into it and sometimes he doesn't, but without leaning into the Carlos, I think he could do a really lovely job. But I kind of was interested in the young Stronti strip. I think that might have been a fun thing for, you know, throw lots of artists on it. Don't throw one artist on it. You can't, you know, any single artist is going to feel like they have to in some way, you know, they're going to be compared to Carlos, which is true, but if you manage to get multiple artists on there, then not one single one of them will be, you know, they'll be compared to each other certainly, but not to Carlos. And give them all, you know, give different writers the gig and different artists, and, you know, maybe that'll be interesting. I don't know. I did once upon a time. I don't know. Is that okay? She's not quite sexy enough, is she? So what do I need to do here? Let's smoky up her eyes a bit. Just do that as well. I don't know how much of this is you're seeing there, but I'm kind of rubbing all the stuff in, so we can now darken some of it down. Would it be better to do something? Matthew, thanks for putting me on the list. You're welcome, Matthew. Sorry, if you're late to joining, which is a possibility, I am watching this stream in order to see the comments. I'm watching the stream myself, which means that I'm running like minutes behind like you guys. So you type in a comment, it'll take a couple of minutes for me even to see that stream. So now we can do the magic stuff, which is taking a little bit of white and just doing that. Oh, sugar. My hands are sweaty and dirty, which means when I draw sometimes, this is why you see artists sometimes with those little gloves. I do have a really brilliant eraser pencil, which is great for stuff like this, but at the moment I don't have it with me right now. Would it be better to do something set in the world of Strontium Dog, but not Johnny Alpha? Probably. I mean, I suppose, one of the things that always confuses me, I think, about Strontium Dog is I suppose it's a world as rich as Dreads. It's just we're always following Johnny Alpha, so we never really get to see more of that world. It's a kind of, it's a world with bounties and aliens and all sorts of things. I don't know, a world like that. I do think, though, that as much as I might want a set of stories like that to work, I feel like the audience wants a strong central character. They don't necessarily want Tales from the Doghouse kind of stuff. They want to see sort of one character. They want to follow one character, be it Johnny or, someone else. Okay. Have I rescued that enough, do you think? Is that enough? Is that okay? There we go. That noise was me blowing. Hey PJ, right, let's see. Did you ever stop reading 2080? Frequently, I stop and start and stop and start and stop and start. So some of these pieces are in pencil like this, where I've kind of really rendered them. So I've got little plastic protection for them, because otherwise I will end up smudging that pencil everywhere. So let's see. Question. Hey, PJ, do you think you've developed your style and technique over the years? Are you quicker now, more detailed, less detailed pencils? I wish I could tell you that anything to do with my art style is a elegant development from A to B. It's a journey that one begins as a callous youth and refines as one goes on, so that by the end of the journey you know exactly where you were and where you've been. Oh no, I'm supposed to ink that. Oh no, inking that's going to wreck that. Okay, do you know what, Alan? It's for Alan. I will email this to you, and if you want, I will ink this. But it's so subtle. I kind of feel like it's a really nice subtle pencil drawing, but I can ink it. But we'll leave that. So we'll link that another thing. PJ, do you think you've developed? So yes, what I was saying was so right. I'm going to get this right down there. Okay. Has my art? No, but what really happens is your art style. Basically, you meander from one chronic disaster to the next, hoping that you've got better, not really knowing. Sometimes you're better, sometimes you're worse, sometimes it's slightly different, and sometimes, so you're sort of always hoping that the craft is getting better, but you really don't have the time to kind of formally develop that craft. Sometimes it's literally just, oh my God, I need to get this done. So there's definitely things. Like if I look over older work, there's pieces where I kind of go, yeah, I am definitely better than that now. And I do think there's storytelling skills that I have now that maybe I wouldn't have had before necessarily. But I think equally it cuts the other way as well. Like my eyesight's not as good as it was. My hands are not as good and adept at handling a brush as they used to be. So there's definitely a kind of, you lose something and you gain something. So, in an ideal world, I'd have the skills I have now in terms of storytelling with the kind of hand-eye coordination I had when I was younger. Not that I was much younger, but, before the glasses and before all that stuff kicked in. So it's a kind of mixed bag. I think your storytelling gets better. It's really a question of how many pages you end up putting away, though. It's not really a question of time. It's like, I think if I wasn't drawn as much as I was, I wouldn't have gotten better in any way. So it is kind of, it's basically, you get better, but you also get worse. But there's no kind of, you don't know necessarily. Sometimes you'll go down a route that you think is better and it turns out to be worse, and you find a dead end and away you go again. So I don't know. I hope I'm good enough to be paid to draw, and I hope I continue to be good enough to be paid to draw. I kind of worry that you're not as good as you were, and then you see some of the older work and you think, oh no, I'm definitely better than that. And you think, you see some old stuff and you go, oh my goodness, how did I even get paid to do that? And then you kind of go, well, then I must be good now because I'm definitely better than that. So I don't know, there's no elegant, moving from one plan to another. It's not, unfortunately, as simple as that. I wish it were. I wish you could guarantee that you would get better just as you got older. One thing I miss, I ramble a lot, I'm really sorry. One thing I miss is I used to be a lot more experimental, and I think part of that is because I was kind of, not fully formed yet, not quite sure of myself on some aspects, and so I would definitely try different things. But part of it as well was just the kind of jobs I was doing. They were all short story stuff, so it was always, can I try this? Can I try this? And I would try lots and lots of different things. So, does that answer that? I don't know. JP, hey JP. Andy Hayes, I've pledged for your cover for the next issue. Can you tell us what your new strip Jericho 5 is about? Yeah, so they asked me if I wanted to do a story for the 77, and I said, oh, well, actually, no, strictly speaking, they asked me if my son wanted to do a story for the 77, because Thomas has done some kids' comic stuff, and I kind of went, well, the thing with Thomas is he likes making this stuff, but I don't want to put any pressure on him to do anything because, he was 12, he was 11, he's 12 now. He doesn't really respond particularly well to pressure. On the other hand, you let him sit and draw and he will come up with something. It could be Tom will never draw again. It could be that he will do something tomorrow. I genuinely, you can never be 100% sure. So but as it was, I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe I could do something. So I pitched a story. I made up a story and I pitched it. And the story is called Jericho 5. And the gist of it is that Jericho 5 is a kind of android from the future sent back in time with a strict observational mission. To observe the past. He's got all sorts of superpowers and whatnot, but he's very strictly there to observe the past. But something happens to Jericho 5 and he ends up kind of being rescued, saved, and having his consciousness kind of sublimated into the consciousness of this 1970s cop. And the idea is that this 1970s cop now is a cop who has the spirit of the future sort of riding along with him. And while Jericho has all these incredible superpowers, he's very strictly sort of no interference. But New York 1977, it's all set in. And the idea is that there are all these temporal time travel events that have happened around New York 1977. And this sort of detective, not undercover, just a plainclothes cop is essentially now carrying around this futuristic cyborg. So that's the kind of gist of it. The idea is that this character already exists, so there's already, the comic's been running for X number of months or years or whatever. So what you get now is more an adventure within. Alan's saying, "Don't ink it, leave it alone." Okay, I'm leaving it alone. Oh, right. Matthew says I told you. Well, thank you very much, Matthew, about my Bond pitch. There's my Dan Dare picture. That's that one done. So, yep. Dan Dare. Right. Oh, now this is going to be interesting. I've got to ink a Dread, right? So what I'm going to do is a Dread, let's see, Dread, Toby, and Halo Jones in a triptych. So Dread's going to be easy. Halo Jones is going to be incredibly hard. Because Halo Jones I find difficult to draw very attractive women. It's a curse. Yeah. So Willie Russell says, tell us your Bond pitch. Okay, the gist of the Bond pitch is James Bond is sent to take out a hacker. He discovers when he's about to take out the hacker that she is not the 23-year-old kind of nurse that he assumes is the hacker. The hacker is her 12-year-old non-verbal autistic daughter. Now, Bond then realizes that he's been double-crossed and he refuses to take out the hacker, and then that's when the plot starts, really. And I don't want to tell you any more than that, other than that's just the gist of it. It doesn't end the way you expect it to. I have my son's on the spectrum, so I'm conscious of that, and it plays out in unexpected ways, I think. And the opening, I have a brilliant opening a Bond scene, so one day I'll talk about that as well. But I may never do it. That's the problem. You never do it. You have an idea, and it's sort of sitting in your noggin, and you think, will this happen? Okay, Mick. Yes. Well, I'm going to do Halo Jones first because I find Halo harder. I find Dread nice and easy. So if I do Halo Jones, that'll be the longest one, and then I can it's easy peasy to do a Dread. So so let's get Halo, and we want them all looking at each other is the thing. So we want them looking at each other with Toby the dog in the center. So the dog's kind of going to go here some way with a red collar. I've got to figure out how to do that yet. And Halo's going to go here. And so, let's start with that big swirl of hair there. Wow, Ian, you did not make the Halo Jones design easy, did you? Good Lord. So, so I'm going to, as with all these things, kind of etch out some details. Could it be an Austin Powers crossover? Umar, no. I owe you an email, by the way. Sorry, I haven't been able to get that to you. We've been having child, oh my goodness, parenting difficulties. Parenting is insanely hard. It's like everything is on difficult level. There is no not difficult. Everything you think is going to be easy is hard, and everything you think is going to be hard is just harder than that. So let's see. Ian's got this kind of, everything's got a very bedoing. Does that make any sense? Jay, I did pitches to Dynamite, and Dynamite said, look, they weren't taking any Bond pitches. So I was going to kind of shave file the numbers off the edge of it and redo it as my own kind of secret agent thing. But the truth is that what makes it really interesting is this idea that Bond has to go on the run with sort of beautiful woman who is having none of Bond's nonsense because she has basically got one goal, which is to look after her daughter. Her daughter is, as say, non-verbal autistic. Bond is trying to figure out exactly why he seems to have been double-crossed, exactly why she's been targeted for assassination by MI6, and, you know, what exactly is going on. So, and it all hammers, you know, and it brings in things like elements of white power and a whole lot of other stuff that were kind of floating around in the ether at the time that I first thought of it, that would still, I think, make quite an interesting read. So, oh, Mike, it's Mike. Hello from London, Ontario. This is London calling. London. I've been to London, Ontario. I really liked it. Good fun. I went there when I was in my 20s with my dad, because I've got a lot of relatives there. I think there's a Falls Road in London, Ontario, of all things. So we went there and we did all sorts of things. I'd like to get back again. This is what London. I was in London. It was Canada. I went over to Canada and met my great aunt, who was also she was an incredible woman who, when I met her, was wearing a wig. And she kind of went, oh, let me tell you something about this wig. If I'd known how easy a wig was, I'd have got one years ago. And she had come over to Canada to earn enough money to send for the rest of the family to come over and live with her. And she'd done that. And her husband had come over. And then her husband had died. And then, who was, I think, my uncle, or my grandfather. No, I don't know. It's all a bit woolly. And then she ended up marrying his brother. So, you know... She was both my great aunt and my granny. So anyway, let's see. You should still pursue your digest idea. Yeah, I really want to do my digest thing. The biggest problem with the digest thing is that working with a writer friend of mine, and it's gone from being commando size. So the original idea was I kind of wanted to do a commando size comic, thinking this is a great way to do 64 pages of comic. You can do 64 pages. You could do, like, the pages are literally the size of A5. So I could draw like a page of this. You see how fast I'm sketching these things in. I could draw a page of this in next to no time at all. And I had 64 pages. I could do a 64 page comic in a month. And that was kind of the original plan. And then the writer kind of was like, oh, I'd rather have the Italian digest size, and the Italian digest size is slightly bigger, and the Italian digest size basically is, you know, just fractionally bigger, but somehow it just got a little bit more complicated and a little harder to do, and then the lockdowns sort of happened, and the problem is, I mean, we had this on the shelf for a little while thinking about doing it and just hadn't got doing it, and then of course somebody else went out and did a commando so the idea was it was going to be based on the old Star-Lord comics, and I'd kind of done a huge amount of work behind the scenes figuring out how can we make this financially viable, how often could we do this, if we make one of these could we do another one of these, and we kind of it looked like if you could do one and make it work, you could do one a quarter, and that would be actually, if you did one every 3-4 months, that would be enough that'd be a solid sort of quarter of your income, really, if you could make it work. And the thing, and the reality is of it, if you could make it work that often and it wasn't too dear for people to buy, you could hit up the same audience again and again and again, and you could end up like creating your own kind of monthly title nearly, and just be able to do that. That would be cool. Let's see. But it turned into a nightmare. Well, it didn't turn into a nightmare. It's just there's so many other things to do. And the worst thing about not having a deadline with something is that you ultimately end up kind of faffing around with it and going, no, that's not good enough. Let's do this. Let's try this. Let's try this thing. Let's try that. And so you end up kind of taking too long on the stupid thing. Oh, Ian Gibson, why do you draw hair like this? It doesn't make sense, does it? Does it make any sense, Gibson? It doesn't make sense to me. Madman. Let's see. Pitch us your dream Image Comics creator own project. Who's writing it? Who's writing it? Oh. So if we're talking current crop of Image writers, I suspect I would quite like a Rick Remender series to be drawn. But, you know, I've seen the artists he uses, and I'm not pretty enough, and my artwork's not nice enough. I think I'm a good artist. Well, I don't necessarily know if I'm not that kind of good artist. You know, I think I draw certain kinds of things really, really well. But, you know, the reality is I'm kind of not a pretty, you know, it's not, the stuff I draw isn't beautiful necessarily. Which is a shame, but there we are. So Rick Remender series, sci-fi stuff, maybe, what's his name? I've forgotten. He was doing, what did he do? He did the Secret Avengers. Did he do the Thunderbolts with Declan? I've forgotten his flipping name. I can't remember his name. That's going to annoy me. I should know his name. Those are American writers. Really would love to do something with Gordon. I think he's a great writer, Gordon Rennie. I think I'd love to do something with Rob Williams. I'd love to do something with Al Ewing. You know, Al's doing an Image book now. It's like, I would have killed to have drawn that Image book. That would have been a great book for me to draw. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, at the moment, probably my career is one where I get to do lots of little short things and all sorts of things, which is good. I don't know if I'll ever get to do an Image book again. I don't know. You never know where your career goes, mind you. Don't sell yourself short. No need. I am short already. PJ, would you be okay if Chimsky became the editor of the Meg as a character? 99% chance of success. I'd be all right for that. I really like Chimsky. I think he's a great character. He's a fun character. I'm doing more Chimsky now. We're going to see Chimsky the early years, I think, the formative years, as it were. I think Chimsky's a great character. What I love about the Chimsky scripts is they're kind of optimistic. They're, you know, it's not often that a character other than Dredd wins. I do want to. There's a bone of contention which I think a lot of people had with Chimsky's last strip, where Dredd gets shot in the helmet and couldn't see. So there's a couple of points that I'd like to address on that, if I may, if that's all right with you guys. Number one, that there's no way two shots would hit him at the same time. Do you know what? That's possibly true, but there's an artistic license in illustration that you don't get in video games and stuff. You get to do an illustration of a thing rather than the actual thing. So, you know, that if you're looking for absolute realism, I'm not the artist. I am not that kind of artist. You're never going to get pure realism with me, and that's okay. Number two, I think, is what was the other point? Oh yeah, the whole thing about Dredd not taking his helmet off. I think what a lot of people missed is that's Chimsky's opinion that Dredd won't take his helmet off. That helmet was not coming off. That because of the angle of where his arm was. So if you're not familiar with it, what happened was Chimsky shot two little pellets at Dredd's face. They stuck on his face. Dredd tried to wipe it. Now this is probably my fault. I didn't illustrate this maybe as well as I could have done. Dredd tried to wipe that away with his wrist gauntlet. That got stuck to his face. And now he's stuck. He's holding his gun in his right hand, which he can't really let go of. He's holding a bike in his left hand. He's got his helmet stuck to his head. He doesn't really have the angle to get that off him. By the way, he's holding it. Let's see if I can do this. This is the way I illustrated this shot, like that. So you can see that. So he ends up calling in for help. Now, in Chimsky's dialogue, he goes, well, Dredd's got this weird psychology where he doesn't want to take the helmet off. But the reality is that's not true. Dredd will take his helmet off. It's just that's not what happened in the story. I think people just assumed that the writer doesn't know Dredd's world at all, but they were completely reading Chimsky's thoughts, not necessarily the writer's thoughts. So, although I do think that the writer is goes a little meta sometimes. So, there's a kind of meta thing going on there about Dredd's helmet. You know, but equally at the same time, Dredd does in canon has got into the bath with his helmet on. So you tell me whether that's psychologically sound or not. So right, let's erase some of the lines on this because there's a lot of lines going on. So let's erase that there. So a slightly older version of thing. That hair turned out all right, I think. That turned out all right, did it? That okay? Your idea sounds similar to Al. I missed a couple of so I'll let you stare at that for a wee second while I catch up on messages. That's Jeff Parker. Jeff Parker is absolutely right. Yeah, Rick Remender is like turned out great. Thank you very much. Okay, now Toby. Ugh, Toby, the stupid dog. So I've got to add some red into this somehow. So I'm not quite sure where I'll add red. Probably on our lips. That seems a sound place to add some red. I'm going to add a dash of red on each of them. Toby, Halo Jones. So Toby's going to be in the center of this triptych. So we're going to have Halo there. Can you see that? That viewable? Halo, Toby, Dredd. That's the way it's going to go. Okay, Toby. Okay, Toby. Oh, another Ian Gibson animal. Ugh, with weird curves and all sorts of things in it. Alright, okay. Like, I can't believe how sometimes the 2080 readership baffles me in so much as they go, oh, I don't like cartoony, but we do love Ian Gibson. I was like, what? What? Does that even make sense? Do you know what you're talking about? I don't know. Right, okay, so let's go with Tobes. So this is slightly a Swizzy one because I am largely kind of taking the lead from Ian Gibson here and just drawing a version of a drawing he's already done, but that's because I don't know the character well enough to come up with a completely new shape for it. So it is kind of largely me going, how would I take his version of it? So Toby's got big metal teeth. Oh, right, here's where the triptych comes in, doesn't it? So this one, I think, we'll have to do this. So here's you go, and the Dredd one will be over. So we'll Dredd over here too as well. Oh, that'd be fun then, won't it? That will be fun. That will work. My God, Ian Gibson, what strange designs you do. He doesn't even have fangs or anything, Toby. He's just got, yeah. I mean, I don't take any of this to be criticism of Ian Gibson. He is I love his work. When I was growing up reading 2000 AD, that stuff was the bomb. But for me, it was always Steve Dillon, artists like that. Artists that you felt like you could replicate, even if you couldn't really. Even if it was only a kind of notion that you could replicate them. So there is a Toby, the Tobemeister. Oh, we wanted a red collar, so we'll have to. I think we'll add a little collar around there. That'll give us a red collar. Let's see if I can move that down a little bit so you can see a bit better, maybe. Book 4 is mine. Thank you, Matthew. That is good news for me. I am getting to draw Halo Jones Book 4. Excellent stuff. Toby sounds rough to draw. We can't see Toby. Sorry. I hope you can see him now. Toby is rough to draw. Although, this is the thing, isn't it? It's like, compared to Halo Jones, Toby rough to draw, but super fast. Halo comparatively slow because Halo is a tougher gig. Pretty girl, very hard. Angry looking robot dog, very easy. Yeah, well, Alan says I read it as Dredd doesn't like to call for backup. I think, yeah, I mean that. I think Dredd himself kind of goes to, like right early on. He goes, "Does this seem like I need backup? Like, are you out of your mind? What about this sounds like Dredd needs some backup?" Um, so I'm sure the old man's got pride as well. That's the thing, isn't it? It's kind of, but that was pretty much solidly glued to his head. He is pragmatic, if nothing else. Dredd, you know, get your retaliation in first, Dredd. Um, So the next Chimsky, I'm on part 3 of that now. I was on part 3 last time as well. I'd finished the pencils. I was intending to ink it this week, but I don't know how you guys are all handling lockdown, but it's been slightly difficult. I am sweating like mad, and it's just been a little bit sort of hard to be totally productive. Kids off, wife trying to work from home. Um, she's she's ended up taking a lion's share of teaching the kids. Our oldest doesn't really need anything taught, and the schools have basically said you're finished now. We have an extraordinarily long summer school holiday anyway in Northern Ireland. It is bonkers long, but it is starting. For my eldest, it started this week. For my youngest, there's still about 2 weeks to go, but I can't see them doing much now. So they've kind of started dropping things. So we'll see. We'll see what he ends up doing. He's not very happy about school. That's just the way it is sometimes. Now, the last time Tom had a summer holiday, he wrote and drew about 3 different comics. So if you go to my website, to TH Comics, you'll see them, and they're really cool and they're good fun. And the first one he did, he made about 500 quid selling them. So I really want to see more Comedy Dread. There's been a lot of grim post-Day of Chaos. We need Chimsky and Dirty Frank type fun. I agree. I think one of the hardest things for a lot of writers is that, after John did Day of Chaos, it didn't seem like there was much room for laughs in Dread. It was just, whoa, this is just all grim all the time. And it's been hard getting back that. I mean, I love Comedy Dreads. They're like my single favourite thing in Dread's world. Not Dread being funny or even being made the butt of the joke, but just that world is so enormous and so, you can do so much in it. It nearly, like had to draw sort of a couple of big Dread world scenes, and can I show you any of it? I can maybe show you a little bit of it. Just the size of that city. I remember, who was it? Who was it did it? A friend of mine did a bit of work where he kind of worked out how Michael Carroll did a bit of work where he basically worked out how heavily populated Megacity 1 was, and just based on the information we knew, and it turned out not that heavy even with 800 million citizens, it wasn't particularly heavily populated. Those blocks are massive. It's store, they have a lot of people in them, and so it always never really makes any sense the size of Megacity 1, but I liked it when it was bonkers big. I'm going to flash this right before you. Will you see? Some more Chimsky to the rescue. There you go. So more Chimsky on the way. So it's a difficult balancing act trying to find that point where it's like, how big should Megacity 1 be compared to how big should you think it is? I've been struggling a little bit with doing work that is traditional versus digital. The very first part of this new Chimsky I drew traditionally, I think, and then the second part I ended up doing it with digitally, and the third part I'm kind of going, I want to do this traditionally again. So it's a bit of a pain, and there is a part of me wants to go back and re-ink the digital one with proper analog inks. There's a couple of Americans have bought it. There's American readers seem to really have enjoyed Chimsky, which is nice. He's missing Comic Cons. I'm sort of desperate to get back to a Comic Con, a proper one. Comic shows are different every year for me because your career changes, and as your career changes, how people react to you is different. Like they're a different experience for me now than they were in the first couple of years that I used to go to them with guys like Stuart Croft Perkins, who was better known as WR Logan, who was a big 2000 AD nut, and he was the first guy I sort of met through fandom, and we would go over to shows and share a hotel room together, and they were great shows. They were great crack to do. And that, of course, was before you end up with a career. And then you have the start of your career. And then it's kind of weird now. It's like I forget that I've been in this doing dread stuff for 20 years, which puts you in a different position again. It's always surprising when I meet people and they know who I am and stuff. And it's lovely. It's really nice. But it's like, oh, how do you know? I've only been doing stuff for 2084. Oh, yeah, for as long as you've been alive. Chimsky wearing a chimp mask was one of the best moments in 2000. Oh my goodness, yeah, it was a funny moment. Also, slightly like he's wearing a chimp. How did I draw that? Did I just draw Chimsky's face again? How does that work? So don't let anyone tell you drawing comics is easy, folks. That is not. That is not easy. La 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 la. How's Toby looking? Alright, can you see him okay? Yeah. I'm trying to keep him positioned in the camera so you can see him, but it's hard because I've got this other camera that's always a bit out of sync. So we're 45 minutes in, and what have we managed to achieve so far? I've got Halo Jones about halfway through Toby. So a dread next, dread at last, my first dread of the evening. Do you have any comic book characters on a wish list you'd love to draw? Do you know, I think I definitely used to, and that would have included the Hulk. That would have been Dredd was my prime one, obviously. Not even any of the Dredd villains, I just wanted to draw Dredd. After that, the Hulk, and then after that, I think I'm largely happy. You sort of get older, and I'm 50, so it feels weird to say, oh, I'd super love to draw this, that, or the other. But I know my mate Joe McCrae loves Spider-Man, so any opportunity to draw Spider-Man is good for him. He loves that. I'm kind of, any opportunity to draw Dredd is good for me. I love that. So, but in terms of American comics, I kind of was thinking about this a few months ago. It's like, who would I love to draw? And it's like, Batman's villains, all of the villains, not Batman, but I think if I had a strip with some of the villains in it, Killer Croc and all those guys that are the sort of big ridiculous villains. The real pleasure of drawing Batman doesn't come from necessarily drawing Batman so much as that list of bad guys. So for me, it's the bad guys are the fun, I think. If you're wondering, am I making sound effects while I draw? Yes, I'm making drawing sound effects. I'm sorry. Oh, my hands are so sweaty. Look, can you see the glistening of the sweat there? Oh my God. So good. Alan, did you know about the Stringbads history before working on the book? No, not a thing. Didn't know a thing about it. Garth, as ever, sent me a reading list, and I kind of do a heavy amount of research when I'm doing sort of the war stuff. The war stuff's difficult because you want to get the vehicles right, and you want to get the uniforms and stuff right. But there are lots of other factors at play. You want to be able to draw a scene where 3 people are sitting in a bar smoking a cigarette, and so that means what the ashtrays look like. What do the ashtrays look like? What are the advertising signs on the thing? As it happens, my dad is a dealer of antiquities, and so I have some sort of notion about some of these things anyway. And he is into what's called ephemera. And ephemera is essentially stuff that doesn't last. So it's things like cigarette packets and stuff. It's stuff that people would normally throw into a bin, but over the course of 50 or 60 years they become valuable, just by the fact that the thing is, when you see, this is what I always find funny, when you see comic books that say collector's edition, anything that says collector's edition is not a collector's edition, purely because no one's, they're not going to be rare. They're going to be hundreds of them. There's not you know, anyone buying the collector's versions is keeping those things. So if they make 100,000 collector's versions, in 100 years there'll be 100,000 collector versions. Whereas you take something like a cigarette packet and you print those up by the billions, but nobody thinks, I'm going to keep this. They chuck it in the bin, of course. And so you end up, by virtue of those things not existing anymore, they become the rare things, they become the unusual things. There's Toby. So Toby has got big ears and Toby and big ears. Toby's got big ears, and those are going to bleed into the other two pages and the other two drawings. So let's see, where's my Halo Joe gone? So if we put that right there, that lined up nicely, and you pitch a Batman villains book to DC. I don't know if you know much about how the industry works, but just simply going, I've got a book idea. It is me drawing all the Batman villains, and they'll go, who are you again? How did you get this number? Please leave. There we go. Yeah, that'll do. I might fill that in with black and use a big fat brush to do that, maybe, in a bit. Next, Batman, not Batman, oh my god, imagine if I drew Batman by accident. Dread, so Dread's going to be over here. Now, so it's trying to figure out the same scale, because Dread's face is different. You can't simply just draw the same kind of thing. Am I going to sign these sketches with sweaty palm print? It could be part of a collector's item. Well, they're already going to be filled with sweaty palm prints, whether I want them to or not, I'm afraid, Umar. Can you see the glistening of my sweat right there? That's the title of the PJ Holden autobiography. It certainly is. Man, that's sweat. That's a lot of sweat. When they say there's blood, sweat and tears in comics, this is what they mean. Blood, sweat and tears. Hoo-ha. So the difficulty is making sure, like, I've made a slight mistake here in that I haven't drawn these two characters together. So what that means is that this is they're part of the same drawing, but they aren't quite to the same scale. Dread's face should be larger. So it is a larger face then. It is. There we go. It is going to be a larger face. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, I love drawing Dread. It's just really pathetically sad how much I love drawing Dread. Like, it really is. Couldn't I love doing, I don't know, portraits of people or something that would earn me a lot more money? I can't as well. I mean, I really do kind of believe that you sort of set your own ceiling on what you're going to achieve, and you know, those people that achieve really kind of amazing things frequently, I think, they don't set a ceiling on what they want to achieve, or they set it so high that it's you know, they achieve those things and it's easy. Or maybe they set a ceiling and then they get to that and then they go, right, now I'm here, what next? Whereas I sort of set the ceiling for myself that I want to draw Judge Dredd, and then I got to draw Judge Dredd and it was like, I've arrived. Yeah, sweaty COVID sweat. That's I don't think it can pass in your sweat though. I think as far as I know, I hope I don't really know really. Should be all right. So how are we doing for time there? We're nearly in our first hour and I've drawn okay, I wouldn't say I've drawn half of this list, but I've inked things, and the inking always takes longer. There's no two ways about that. Inking takes longer, so even Dread's inking will take a wee bit longer. If you're wondering why I've got this page now, and you'll see it now, it's because the sweat. I've got my window wide open here as well. So right, let's see. Let's get Dread. I don't know if you're all going to stick around for longer than the first hour. Please stay and don't leave me on my own. Can take an intermission, I suppose. I don't know. this is where I should give a shout out to everyone joining us from Facebook. Yo, shout out, yo boy. Also big shout out to all my Twitch streamers. Big shout, both of them. Big shout out to the 4 people joining us on Twitter. I mean, if I'm honest, if no one was watching, I'd be doing this anyway, and I'd just talk to myself. Because that's the kind of guy I am. I try as much as possible to not draw entirely perfectly straight lines. It is not... it's good, but it's not... it's never quite the real world. Especially, like, this pen's quite thick. It shouldn't be, but it is. This pen's quite thick, and when you're using a thick pen, it's best not to kind of give yourself a completely dead line, which has got no life in it. So you're sort of trying to figure out ways of making it thinner looking, and one way is to break that line, make it bounce a bit, and, you know, chop it up a bit. So I had a little plan to do at the end of the show to do quick 1-minute sketches, but honestly I suspect we'll all be too knackered for that. Oh yeah, big love to YouTube as well. Sorry, Umar. Sorry. You're right. You're quite right. I completely forgot my Umar. Completely forgot my YouTube posse. Boy. So Kickstarter, how many people do you think are going to end up on Kickstarter all on their own and doing like I kind of feel like there's a posse of what you'd call professional comic artists. Let's call them that, because I don't necessarily think there's much distinction between a professional artist and an amateur artist, because the distinction really is one of one's getting paid and the other one isn't, and that distinction becomes more woolly when you go, well, are they earning a living? Do they get to take, are they taking enough home that they don't need to do any other work? Because I, for about 8 years, as a professional comic artist, I had a day job, and it was working on IT, so I don't necessarily think the distinction is purely one of, professional comic artists make so much money, they don't need to work. I think you're professional when what you're doing is to professional standard, or to a professional level, and that includes not just the quality of your work, but how you deliver that work, and how you deal with other people, and so on. But my feeling is that there's quite a lot of professionals, people like me, maybe. Oh my goodness, I've been asked loads of questions. I'll get around to all of them in a second. I was sort of rambling on here. There are people like me who are making a passable income as a comic artist. I've been doing an awful lot of work, and I would say I'm not earning as much as whenever I worked in computers. So, and I definitely work a lot harder now than I did then. And the big problem is kind of reliability of that work. But like things like Kickstarter can offer you an opportunity to make that reliable, but I wonder how people feel about it if they're doing work on Kickstarter that is kind of not fan level. Fan level is a terrible thing, but let's say you've found a niche in Kickstarter and you're doing work. Does the prospect of a bunch of professionals coming on board and suddenly doing similar stuff to you, is that good? Is that bad? Is that indifferent? Is that a worrying thing? Is that a kind of, no, hang on, this was ours, we were here first, don't you come in and do that? Or is it kind of, no, do you know what, we want that level because that increases everyone's ability? I don't know. Okay, if you could change one thing about Dread, what would it be? Absolutely nothing. I would change not a damn thing. It's such a perfect design, such a perfect character. I would maybe make me about 11 or 12, and then I can enjoy it all over again. I'd maybe make the I love the collections. I would like the one thing I would change would be I'd make the digital copies, the digital versions of 2000 AD and stuff higher resolution. I mean, that seems like a petty thing, but that's what I would do. Make them a much higher resolution. That's it. Dredd himself wouldn't change a damn thing. Is there such a thing? What's a normal working day for you like if you have a set working schedule? No, what I try and do is I try and kind of plan out the start of my, well, I've been trying this for a while, plot out the start of my week about what I'm going to do. I'm using a brush right now for the rest of the week, and that will be, for example, ink 2 pages of artwork every day, and then I will try and do that, and that's it. So it doesn't really matter to me when that arrives at, but if I can get 2 pages done per day, then I'm very happy. So that's it. That's a kind of normal working week. The problem really is whenever you have to do stuff that's outside of the normal stuff. So you've got to do invoicing, you've got to do your accounts, you've got to do all the boring stuff that is not drawing comics, and then that becomes like, ugh, I'd rather do anything else than this. No, you can't see that. Sorry, my apologies. Let's see, I'll move that a wee bit over there. Maybe I'll make it a bit better. Does really use 3D models for ships and buildings, but inks them freehand to make them look rough and artisanal. Well, I do exactly the same. I pull 3D models into, I'll use Blender maybe to edit something I've already got or create something new, and then I will take that into Clip Studio where I can rotate it the way I want and basically render it as a flat line. It's a really nice way to render a sort of simple pencil drawing essentially. It is not at all interesting. It does not look at all like it's alive. It doesn't look like it's got any life to it. But then you kind of, composition changes that, and your rendering of it, you kind of, you're basically you're using your decision-making process to re-render that in such a way that a computer couldn't, and also tying it to the artwork so it looks like it's part of the scene and looks, so the people look like they belong with it. Only a time matter of time before publishers move to the Kickstarter model. I think publishers don't want to. I think actually the Kickstarter model doesn't really work for publishers. I don't think they can make the numbers big enough. Seems to work for game publishers, but I don't think print publishers. I don't know. I kind of feel like, do you know what? If I was with a publisher and they said, we're taking this book to Kickstarter, I would think, well, what can you offer me on Kickstarter that I can't find myself on Kickstarter? And this is not to say this is so. For example, if 2000 AD ever said we're doing a Kickstarter Judge Dredd thing, I would go, what? That would worry me. Go, what? I mean, unless it's a video game or a board game or something outside comics. But the moment they go, we're going to take this comic to Kickstarter, I think, oh no, that's not healthy for this character. It should be better known than this. If a publisher went, we love this story that you're doing, let's take this to Kickstarter and get it kickstarted, and then we can do the book, I'd think, well, why can't I just do that on my own then? So it's a weird thing. Like, the publisher exists primarily to fund and pay for the product and to publish it and so on. So if they're, if the main thing they can't do is get it funded, then I would kind of think, well, why am I here? So I don't know. There we go. There's one Dredd with plenty of inking. DC and Marvel must look at Duncan Jones getting $250,000 in a few days and fancy some of that. Well, maybe, but like they need like $250,000. Is it anything? Is that much to Disney and Marvel? It's like, they need a machine that can constantly do that. So they need to be able to produce and guarantee that sort of income all the time. Like, if you could guarantee that income all the time, then great. Then you kind of go, why use Kickstarter? Because Kickstarter are taking a huge percentage. If they could figure out a way to do a Kickstarter model that didn't rely on Kickstarter, maybe, but I don't know. I just can't see it. Try to digest it, but you're away. Write and draw it yourself. After you'll have 12 photos, you'll only write crowdfund it. You can do it. Well, maybe. I find myself having written Jericho's 5 for the 77, hitting a brick wall when it came to scripting it, and that was only 4 pages, so I have backed off the idea of writing things for the moment anyway. So let's see, where are we? Halo Jones, right? There's Toby. There's Halo Jones. I don't know if you can see these. Toby. Let's see. So what I'm going to do now is add the rest of Toby's ear, which goes roughly here. Not the way Toby's ear goes. Oh, it's very sharp. Goes all the way up here, actually. Oh no, it goes to about... Yeah, right there. Kickstarter is going to be interesting with new pros launching in projects, and I welcome it, but in my opinion, some of these pros do need to work on project transparency, but it's a learning curve. Yeah, yeah, I mean, I think so. One of the difficulties is, I think, there are people who know Kickstarter really well and understand how that works, and then there are people who don't, and that's the pros, unfortunately. How's that got a little schmutz there? What's that little schmutz going on there? I do not know. We'll figure that out in a minute. Let's bring Toby in back in, and let's do this bit. So I have to be careful when the ink is wet. This is why I try not to... I always end up putting my flipping hand in the bloody thing, so... Alright, there we go. I think that's right, isn't it? Any preference towards comic book dread or 2012 dread? Oh, comic book dread all the way. I mean, anything that isn't comic book dread is just a different version of dread, and, you know, interesting, but not dread. It's like, you know, that's just a different dread, but that's okay. Different dread's all right. You know, I don't consider 2020 dread to be the be all and end all of dread. That's for sure. It's fun, and I'm glad it happened. I would have liked it a mite more futuristic. That would have been great, and it would have been nice to see a sequel or a TV show or something coming out of it. And the TV show may still happen. Sequel may still happen. Who knows? Hollyweird is weird. Kickstarter is also a great platform to gauge interest levels more on a creator level and a publisher, which could help them when pitching to publishers take a chance on UAG publishers like Image. Yes, I agree. I do think, I mean, my feeling is that, like, there are guys that might struggle, like me, to get regular gigs. I mean, I'm lucky. I've got a lot of regular work out of 2000 AD, but between us, 2000 AD pays not bad as a publisher, but they cannot give you more work than, say, 12 pages a month. Like, it's just the nature of the beast. You cannot be doing more than 12 pages a month. It's just, there isn't that work there. So in order to survive on that amount of work, you've got to have something else going on. And it would be nice to be able to kind of make that predictable. So for me anyway, I mean, and maybe for others, but for me, a way of doing that might be to kind of start doing a frequent Kickstarter thing. I mean, we all want an Etherington Brothers. I don't know if you're aware of the Etherington Brothers. The Etherington Brothers, I know Duncan Jones's Kickstarter is impressive, but the Etherington Brothers have managed 3 Kickstarters now. The first one hit, I think it was 170,000. The second 200 or 300,000. The third is nearly 800,000 on 3 different books. So I kind of feel like, yeah, that's the way to go. But, you know, in some ways that's like saying, well, he won the lottery, so I should be able to win the lottery. It's not quite going to happen like that, you know. I would be careful. I don't end up blotching ink everywhere here. But that's kind of what we're looking at so far. If you'll be able to see Halo Jones in there. There we go. There we go, there we go, there we go. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit so you can see more of that. PJ, would you do this as a more regular thing just from our point of view? We get to hear more chat and see you sketch more. That's what's cool, getting to know you better. Well, yeah, I want to do this more. I'm quite happy to do this more. To be honest, my wife freaked out a little bit when I suggested I was going to do this on a regular basis, because it does take up a fair amount of time. Like, and it means Sunday night we can't go to the cinema. But who's going to the cinema right now? Yeah, it looks all right, doesn't it? That's a triptych. That looks okay. So now I've got 3 wet pages. So I'm going to have to let them dry somewhere. Somewhere away from each other so they don't end up getting ink on each other. That's the M3 bad boys all done up. So yeah, I would. I mean, I'm very happy to do this on the regular. To be honest, what stopped me doing it, I think, is number one, I want to get paid. I want to get paid. If I can get, half a dozen commissions every time I do it, I that's fine. That's great. That means I get to do it. If I only get so this is the first show I did where I didn't have advanced commissions, but like I had plenty of commissions then whenever I sort of started looking, and saying it was the last one for a while. So more commissions would be good. We could all take a wee 5-minute break, can't we? More commissions would be good. I'd like to do it on the regular. I would be quite happy to do this every Sunday from 9. And if I had 5 or 6 commissions each time, that actually could become nearly a third of my income. And if it became a regular thing, 6 to 12 commissions every time becomes a third of your income. That would be good. I would like that. Everyone would like that. It works for everyone. And then you do that, then you do a Kickstarter, and now suddenly all of your income is derived from Drawn, but not necessarily from a set number of publishers, and you're golden. So you've got to kind of think about these things, I suppose. I think you can do a fairly decent on Kickstarter as you're big enough for presence online. You have years of experience. It's a pretty solid foundation. It would only grow. Like, trust me. And where I believe you. I believe you. The things stop me are when you become. This is sound desperately patronising, and I'm sorry for that. But when you become reliant on Drawn as your only source of income, it's difficult to put the pen down to the paper for free, especially for like a month in order to do something, because that's money that you could be earning for an income. So it becomes, you're almost sort of locked in then. I am going to do red on it later because I've got to find some way to put red on it, and I don't want to do that with with what I've necessarily got here. I don't really have anything here, but I've got red somewhere, so I'm going to put red. I don't want to use a marker necessarily, because a marker can bleed, so I want to make sure I'm using a good marker. So I'm going to put red on all of them. There's going to be a little smidgen of red on each of them. I don't know what. Red's visor would be too much. Red's the side of his thing would be too much red, but there would be red on there. Don't you panic. So yeah, I would like to do a Kickstarter. I think it's just finding the right format, making sure I've got enough income to me to be able to just do something for 1 month and then taking that punt. And I'm sort of getting close to that point. I can do that. Writing something myself is the big struggle. It might take me more than a month to write something myself. I've got good ideas, I think, but what I seem to stumble in execution. I kind of get panicked about drawing. So what am I doing? I'm looking for my list to see what's next because I've forgotten. So you chat amongst yourselves there. Just to recap, I've done that and that so far. Here we go. There's my list. No. Oh, Kano Bad Company. Here we go. This will be fun. Oh, it's just pencils. It would have been fun if it was inked it. Let's see. Right. Kano Bad Company. Here we go. This one I definitely need reference for. So again, I'm using DuckDuckGo for reference because it just is a wee bit of a nicer interface. I'll fire through this now because this is a big ugly brute, which is exactly the sort of thing I'm good at. Oh, pardon me. Oh, there's Mark Lamming sketch. Oh, okay. There's a okay. All right. So big Frankenstein looking dude. Then let's do a 3/4 view. 3/4 views are always kind of interesting. Oh, he's got one of those there, doesn't he? Here we go, the main event. My yes. I hope you like this format. This is a fun format for me, kind of being able to say, look, here's what I'm drawing in advance. I quite like that. To be able to go, yeah, here's what this show is going to be about today. It's going to be drawings of these characters. Okay, no. Difficult not to make him look a bit dready. Trying not to do that. sort of raise a bit over the top of his head here, because there's a bit much in there really. Kiddo! Mick, I'm glad you like it. I'm gonna let that black ink dry first before I can sort of play with it a bit more, but be interested to see how I'm presuming you're going to frame it. It'd be fun to see how you end up framing it, because I think you'll probably want to put the frame. You can either frame them all together or frame them all separately. That'd be fun to see. Let's give them a proper circle. Whoop. The ultimate flat top. That's what I used to have. I used to have a flat top. The thing with my hair, right? Let's talk about hair, will we? Let's talk about hair. Let's talk about hair, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that made me. Let's talk about hair. Let's talk about hair. My wife would be so embarrassed if she could hear me. The thing about hair is that I have very lusciously thick hair, right? It is like generously thick. It is thick and luxuriant and dark. Well, not dark, but it's dirty fair. Let's call it what it is. It's mousy. But one of the advantages of mousy hair is that it doesn't. My hair hasn't particularly greyed very much, although my brothers all have, who are all younger than me in this dry, and I enjoy rubbing this in. But also, it's so thick that I did have a flat top, a proper flat top, and I had a flat top when I was about how old was I? I must have been about 18 or 19 or something, because I went to the hairdressers, and the hairdresser took one look at my hair and went, "Oh, your hair would really suit a flat top." And I went, "Yeah, all right, then I'll do that." And so I had a flat top, and it did suit a flat top. The amazing thing about a flat top is, for my hair, I didn't need to do anything with it. It would just sort of sit flat. All I had to do was shave it at the top, and that would be it. And then for years after I got a flat top, and then changed my hair has done. At no point has my hair ever been longer than it was in the 70s as a kid, when my mum refused to cut it, and I hated the fact that she wouldn't cut my hair. And so the moment I got some money when I was about 14 and started working, I went to the hairdressers and got a short haircut. So my hair has never been long. It has been bouffanted. It had a bouffant at the front, at the top, when I was sort of after the flat top, because I kind of let that bit grow. But it has never been long hair at all. But then whenever I kind of got rid of the flat top, every hairdresser I went into after that would say, "Oh, your hair would really suit a flat top," and every single one of them. It's really weird. It's like they see the thick hair and they think, "Oh, I'd love to do a flat top on that." The funny thing is that, I mean, and they used to have a comb that was completely flat, like this here, sort of flat like this. They'd put it on your hair, and it had a spirit level on it, and they'd shave it totally flat. So, anyway. Okay, was Brett Ewan's an influence? I can see him in your work. Probably. I mean, I definitely loved Brett Ewan's early work on, on the... Road Trooper. I mean, I loved anyone on Road Trooper, but I particularly loved Brett Ewan's work. I kind of fell out of love with it a little bit as his artwork sort of evolved into something much simpler, and the influences were different. So I don't know quite what it was, but sort of the Jim McCarthy, what I think of as Jim McCarthy era. Whenever I think Jim McCarthy was sort of inking him, maybe, or doing stuff with him, and it just wasn't anywhere near kind of what I liked about his work at that point. But Venus Blue Jeans, all that stuff was amazing. I loved it. Loved Brett Ewan's in the early days. Hi Paul, love watching these. Just reading World of Tanks you did with Dark Horse and Garth Ennis Square. Quality read. Well, thank you very much. There are 2 Worlds of Tanks series. I would love to get to do a 3rd one. I don't know if we will. I mean, maybe weirdly, it used to be Dark Horse had a relationship with them, but the publisher I did the graphic novel with, the Stringbags graphic novel, actually have now a relationship with World of Tanks. So possibility they might want to do it through them. I don't know. I suspect if Garth wanted to do another World War II thing, he'd probably want to do something not necessarily World of Tanks, but you know, we'll see. I think he likes doing war stories, so you know, whatever that war story will be published, I don't think it matters to him too much. Yeah, there's a 2nd World of Tanks book, which is all about Kursk, which was fascinating stuff. I mean, the interesting thing about when you do the World War II stuff with Garth is you learn a ton about these things. Like, just in the incidental reading alone, you kind of learn so much stuff. It's a cruel, cruel summer, eh? Cruel, cruel summer. I never read Bad Company, though, if I'm honest. I don't know if it came in the period whenever I'd stopped reading 2000 AD, or there's something about the art I didn't really appeal to me, or whether it was because part of me probably thought, oh, well, I like Rogue Trooper, and if they're not going to run Rogue Trooper, I refuse to read another war story, future war story thing. But I suspect it was just came in just as I stopped reading it. Yeah, Garth doesn't need to go to Kickstarter, though. That's the thing, Willie. You know, Garth is very happy doing this stuff on his own without going that way. I mean, Kickstarter is brilliant, but it is right. So the advantage of Kickstarter is you don't need that many people to buy the thing to make it viable. That's the big. That's the killer application of it. You need to kind of figure out how many people can make a thing viable, and that's it. You're away. You're golden. There we go. I hope that's okay. Is that okay for Kano? Bad Company Kano. But then the flip side of that, though, is that you don't need that many people to buy into it. But equally, sometimes the reach is quite limited. You know, you don't get into comic shops, you don't get distributed worldwide without doing all that legwork yourself. And so, you know, if a publisher, I mean, really what you want a publisher to be able to say is, look, we can get this in front of 50,000 people. And, I mean, if you could get 50,000 people on Kickstarter, oh my God, you'd be rich. But you don't need 50,000 people. You need, like, 500 people or something could nearly make a thing work. So, anyway, there's Kino. I hope that's okay. Let's see. Pencil's so much faster. That's for Jay. Michael wants Dread with a badge. Right. If you want to talk amongst yourself, right, I am going to wash my hands because I've got pencil all over my hands. So I'll be back in about 10 seconds. Back. Did you miss me? I should have just left that sitting there, shouldn't I? Like a fool. Okay. Oh, hang on. I know what I'm missing. I'm missing these other bits here. Okay. Next up, my friend Michael Dread with a badge. Okay, fairly easy one. Let's all hide. It's too late. It's too late. I'm back. Let's all hide. There's not enough of us to hide. Let's go. Dread with a badge. Oh, I've got to do an ink of Zian next. I feel like camera tickling my hair, but I don't know if I'm anywhere near it or not. Oh, it's time for the more serious glasses on. I actually think I need bifocals at this point. At this stage in my life, bifocals are probably a requirement. I tried getting them before and I just couldn't really kind of, not enjoy them is the wrong word, but I couldn't really sort of relax into them. I feel like now I know exactly what I need bifocals for. And trifocals are probably better as well, but I don't know who's still here. Patrick Goddard's still here. Big shout out to anyone who's still here. Well done for sticking with it. There you go. I tend to add a bit of turkey neck to Dread. I don't know. I don't know if other artists do this, but he's an old man now, isn't he? I mean, I'd say he is. He's sort of in his 70s, but you know, quite sprightly for it. So, that's super satisfying noise, that, isn't it? That pencil scraping there. Hello, still here, still here. That's good to know. Do you know they've rejuve Dread? Oh, maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I think I definitely don't read as much 2000 AD Dread as I probably should do to keep up with what's happening. I know when I get a script what's happening in that, and I kind of, unless there's some focus on Dread or other, I always draw him as a slightly old man, a bit grumpy. Past, you know, kind of matured beef cake. I feel matured beefcake is probably a horrible search term. Don't go looking for that. So I'm open to suggestions about how to increase the audience that I'm kind of reaching on these things. I mean, is a more regular thing? Should I be streaming video games? I don't know. I'm not streaming video games. I can't do that primarily because I'm not very good at video games. The only video games I'm good at, 2 video games. One is Arachnoid, which is a bat and ball game, and the other one is a game on the VR headset, which is basically a shooty game. I like shooty games. I've rejuve with red wine on a Sunday. It's not a wrong thing. You've received 100 messages with free screen chat. Yay! Yeah, Michael Carroll made him young in the magazine. Since yeah. Yeah. I mean, those are all kind of tricks that writers play on you. Dread's going nowhere until he doesn't, and then he will. I mean, I'm sure at some point they'll deal with some sort of Dread gets older storyline, and then we'll figure out then what. But I mean, he's like, what is he, 50% human at this point? I suspect we'll have to have storylines specifically dealing with the lack of humanity in Dread before we need to deal with Dread's kind of no longer young enough to function. You don't let go of a prime asset like Dread, and I'm talking about Justice Department. I'm not even talking about 2000 AD Justice Department. I see I don't know, I'm not sure what's being said there, but it looks like Arabic. But, and I don't know if that's just someone who's actually is just a spam bot or a real person. I don't know. I do not know. So this one is for another Michael. Two hours of me drawing is going to be really boring, isn't it, though? 1 hour is probably enough, really. If we're all being completely honest with ourselves. 1 hour of me waffling to myself. So let's see how fast I can get through the rest of these. So, Kino's penciled. Zane. I think Zane's got to be inked. Let's do an inked version of Zane. So I think that's enough for... Dread with a badge. There we go. Isn't that enough? Isn't that enough? That's my... I do a podcast with friends, and they know I've reached my limit when I go, have we recorded? Have we talked enough now? I'm done. Just the eyes, PJ. Metal plate in the skull. Well, he's got paper lungs, does he not? As I recall. There's a Dread. Right. Oh, my glasses dropped. So I've got two pairs of glasses with me right now. One pair is for computer work, which is sort of a slightly distanced pair, and the other one is for reading, which is not a slightly distance. So let's go with Zane. Zane is the character from the graphic novel Number Cruncher I did with Cy Spurrier, my good mate Cy Spurrier. And I suppose it would have been lovely to do more with him, and kind of talked to Cy once upon a time. The story is like complete. There's nothing more to do with Zane that you could do in that story. That story is complete. But because of the nature of the book, Zane exists for essentially an infinite amount of time. So you could probably do more with him if you wanted. And if we ever were asked, that we probably would. I genuinely think it would be an amazing property to get into the hands of what's his name? Jason Statham. I think Jason Statham could do a fantastic job as Zane. Megacity has Zane's just pencil. No, I know I've got him just pencil here, but I think my email said inks. Let me check my email. Zane. Jimmy, you're on the list. Yep, you wanted an ink piece. There we go. Definitely an inked one. Definitely got to be inked. So let's do that now. Let's give him a heavy downcast shadow since I'm inking this one. Sometimes my list isn't perfect. Megacity has two Dreads running around most days. Him and the younger clone, which I presume will take him over at some point if they're brave enough to kill the older one. Yeah. Knee pad kid in an old annual. Rico has carbon fiber lungs. One of them has one of the Dread clones have an artificial chin as well? I don't know. I can't remember. Can anyone explain the mystery of Kenneth Neiman? No, I can't explain the mystery of him. It will forever be a mystery, I presume. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Let's get some black ink on this. So, I don't know if you've read Number Cruncher, you'll know one of the features of this story is that the afterlife in this book. So it's all set. The character Zane is basically a kind of debt collector for the afterlife. He collects your soul if you have promised your soul for something, and he is attempting to collect the soul of this guy called the Mathematician. The Mathematician has sold his soul in exchange to be with the one he loves, but because of the way heaven is in this afterlife, which is slightly tricky, he sold his soul, and in exchange for being reincarnated to be with the one he loves, but he was reincarnated before, just as she died. So he then was double-crossed, essentially. He then cut another deal with another one of these little sort of debt collectors guys, and another. And every time he's reincarnated by one, he's reincarnated in a different time and place as a different person. And so it's about him trying to get back to his the love of his life. But at the same time, and of course that story, that element of it is told through time. But we follow Zane here, who is attempting to collect this guy's soul, and that element of the story is quite linear. And so there's things that happen in the story that from Zane's perspective are kind of stupid and don't make any sense, but actually from the Mathematician's perspective happen correctly in the way they're supposed to. So there's kind of a tricky, like it's like Memento in respect that it plays a lot with time, and but we follow Zane, and Zane sees time very simply, and so it's from that end it's really fun. It's really clever. It is, of course, it's clever. Simon Spear is a very clever fella. Statham would like a role that involves wearing a hat. Well, I mean, I'm familiar with this entire oeuvre, but maybe you're right. I don't know. I don't know. Would he? Oh, yes, because he's bald. He's as bald as a coot. Yeah, probably. I just think it'd be a great role for him. It'd be very funny, and it would be just right up the street. Doesn't have to do an accent. He can get away with his own accent in it. Be good. So this is quite heavy, thick lines, and that's not the nature of the artwork that I did in this, but that's okay. Can I still see this on my 2-4 over there? Let's put that there. Sorry about that. Oh, we're all back again, I think. We're all back again. Oops. That was a bit goofy. That was my fault. I tried to move the camera, and in doing so, I accidentally hit the on-off switch. Hopefully we're back again. Oh, I'm sticking to this chair. The inking on this is... I love the brushed ink. Thank you very much. I'm really struggling with it because the ink has gone all blotchy and hard, and I'm having to kind of rely on the fact that I can get away with murder on some of these sketches because they're sketches, they're not finished pieces. So, slightly sloppy inking is fine. You kind of want, I like precision though, and it's annoying the hell out of me that I can't get precision. So, right, so I apologise there for the camera going off. That was entirely my doing. Now, where's my flipping pen? Yes. I don't know. I'm starting to feel ragged now, and it's been... What are we at? We're at Zane. So, Mean Machine, at my choice, and Catwoman. Okay, so I've got a couple more to go. I'll finish Zane, and then what I'll do is I'll do a recap, and we can see where we are. And what we've done so far. I don't know what time is it. Yeah, okay. I was kind of expecting this show to last for about 2 hours, and that's sort of the way we've gone. I wasn't expecting myself to be just so knackered after the first hour. By the way, this is a great way for me to focus. I hope you're still here. Did I lose this? Give me a shout if you're still here. Oh, cigarette. He's got a smoke. He smokes. Forgot Zane smokes. In fact, he's kind of vaguely famous for smoking, so I'll have to tip X in a cigarette in there. That's okay. It's been a long time since I've drawn this character. Okay, thank goodness there are people still here. Okay. He's got a badge, I think it was 494. La 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 la. So let's see. Let's tip X out that where a cigarette should be. Like a fool, I forgot to leave some white space there. Luckily, I've got a tip X pen with me. One of these jobs. Well, so do you know what? I would probably have fun doing a slaying strip, but I've seen some of the, I'm sure you have as well, some of the sample art of the guy who's doing slaying next, and it's like, oh no, I'm not following that guy. No, thank you. Like, I don't mind following guys that are sort of not, what's the phrase? I just think he's going to be hard to follow. This new slaying artist is going to be hard to follow. I mean, partly it's because I think we operate in the same world in terms of our art style, maybe. Although I think he might be a load better than me. And that's kind of why I don't want to go anywhere near it. But so kind of not that fussed. You know, I could follow a guy like Simon Davis. I could follow because we don't have enough in common for us to be comparable in some respects. Which, you know, it's like so I wouldn't be too worried about it. But this other guy's like, oh no, I think we trade some of the same boards, but he trades them with so much grace and dexterity than I do. I'm not going near that. No, thank you. But having said that, I think all artists are in danger. I don't know if you've seen I posted a couple of times on Twitter, the cartoon of an artist kind of going, oh no, that other person's cake is better than mine. And then they leave their cake there, and then an audience comes along and they go, oh look, two cakes. So anyway, why doesn't 2000, let's add a bit more in here, ink into this. Let's ink a little bit of more backgroundy stuff here. Why doesn't 2000 AD do more creator-owned work? Pretty much because it doesn't, like, part of the way 2000 AD makes money is not just the published comic, it's the back catalogue of stuff, and they need to own the rights for all of that. You know, I mean, I definitely get royalties for stuff that I've done, and it's brilliant, but they need to be in charge of that. You know, they need to be able to kind of go, right, we're going to print this as this, or we're going to do that as that. So they're just not set up for creator-owned stuff, really. Image Comics is set up for creator-owned work, and they, you know, but then they don't necessarily pay, and they all pay everything in the back end. So it just feels like, as in terms of a business proposition, creator owned and what do you call it, and work for hire are set up in two very, very different ways, and it's tough to get them to meet. So whenever Number Cruncher was in the magazine, which was a creator-owned thing, we were paid, but we weren't paid anywhere near as much as we were paid for doing stuff for 2000 AD. So that was, you know, it was like, okay, well, we can do this, but we're not going to earn enough money doing this, but it's okay because we can find another home for it later on. So there's the saying. I hope that's okay for Jimmy Ross. I don't know if you're still there, Jimmy, but I hope so. Let's do this, actually. Let's do this. We'll do this. We'll add a little bit of grey wash to this because we can. So I'm going to pour a bit of water into the lid of a pot, and a little bit of black. A little bit of black ink in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just check that. See how that's too inky. Too much ink in that ink. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now, There we go, I've gone quiet there. There we go. A bit of wash. That's basically ink wash, so if I wanted to make it darker again, I could just sort of ink into that again. So do multiple layers, which is what I did whenever I drew this originally. When I drew the original series of this, there was a lot of ink wash in it. There we go. Do you think it's a similar sticking point with Rebellion want to keep control, but any backers want too much control? Do you think it's a similar sticking point with film and TV rights? Rebellion want to keep control, any backer? Yeah, I mean, rights are a problem. You know, everyone basically wants to be able to kind of go, I own all of this, so therefore this will make this easier for me. Because the moment you involve more than one person in the rights, it becomes really nightmarishly complicated. It's one of the reasons, like, I've done things with people where I've basically said, look, although I own this 50-50, you know, I'm happy for you just to make any decision on this. If you need to do something with this, then you can do it, because otherwise it's going to be an absolute nightmare. Oh yeah, Zane, Simon Spurrier told me, he says, when Zane smokes, the numbers kind of curl away in fractal numbers. What does that even mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? So that's one of the things I do, is I draw little numbers. They don't mean anything. These are not pin numbers or anything. These are just numbers curling away in the cigarette smoke. Alice DeCampi had 3 amazing image trade paperbacks, No Mercy. She said she didn't get much money at all as they didn't hit payment thresholds, and she's amazing. Yeah, there's, like, image books are, well, all creator-owned books are difficult. Making any money on them at all is difficult. That's why Kickstarter is so attractive, because you kind of don't have to necessarily commit. That flag looks 3D. Well, I think it is 3D because it was done with Tipex, so you can actually feel it. Hi to Steve Green, hi to Willie Russell. That's a great sketch. Hi Matthew. Oh, everyone's talking amongst themselves. Well, that's fine. Let's see. Go. What's left? Oh, Mean Machine. Okay, Mean Machine. Richard didn't reply whether he wanted penciled or inked, so I'm just going to go penciled. That's okay. Mean Machine, a nice easy one. Is this still interesting? I mean, who's been here for the full nearly 2 hours now? Good Lord, you maniacs. Balk. Ripped his way right through the paper there, like. That's funny. That's fine. You can talk amongst yourselves. I don't mind. Yes, that's true. Not if by a process of elimination, if those numbers weren't by pin, every other number must be. Numbers in the smoke is the most Iceberger thing ever. Yeah, you're telling me. Is there a big difference between the detail of scripts you get? Do some writers give you panel details or just leave it more up to you? Yeah, I mean, for the most part, most of the writers I work with tend to script very sort of succinctly. I worked. I mean, obviously, the entire last year I was working with Garth Ennis, and Garth's scripts are very John Wagner-esque. They're very sort of just, here you go, here's what's needed in this and no more. On the other hand, his scripts can be, they're pretty much sacrosanct. You can't, you will get notes saying, yeah, this isn't, as per script, please do this. That's not what I asked for. And you're going, oh, I did it wrong, and there wasn't even that much on the bloody script, and I managed to foul that up. So it's kind of like Garth's scripts are kind of simple, but also they don't really, like, you've got to do what's on the script, because that's everything that's important. So they're weird. Like, you can't, like, a lot of artists give you an awful lot of room to do whatever we want with it, and Garth scripts feel like there's only one way to do these, and it's just sort of the nature of it. I kind of wonder sometimes if I let myself go a little bit in Garth scripts, would he like it or not? I do not know. But anyway, so and then I've worked with Kenneth Neiman. His scripts are very similar. They're also quite succinct. There's, I mean, to me, a good script is one that is 1 page of comics per page of 1 page of script per page of comics. That is my golden ideal, really. So if people can do that, then that's great. And then the other person I've worked with a lot is John Reppion, working with him the entire year doing the Folklore Thursday comics, and but that's an unusual thing in that John doesn't script anything. He just writes a tweet, and then I kind of take that and go, right, what is this going to be here? This is a fun looking thing, isn't it? I quite like this. Fascinating, loved every minute. Halo Jones, Michael Ward's wife. So that's Michael's wife is talking there. This is a great, best bit of convention without all the queuing. Thanks very much. That looks amazing. Thank you. Did you see Lee Carter's recent Mean Machine? Yes, that was amazing. PJ's experience is like being at the front of your table at a con, hearing you talk through the commissions. It's pretty cool. Yes, it is like that, Matthew. Thank you very much. I would say, though, that most people by now would have gone, oh my God, I've had enough of that idiot, and off they'd have taught and trotted. After the Think and this Mean Machine will obviously be a style book for a theoretical animated Dread series. I would love that. Give me that. That would be amazing. But, I'm not an animator, so there's an awful lot of stuff in animation. I think, oh, that looks like it would be an awful lot of fun. And then you kind of, I think we talked about this the last time, the realities of it are like, oh, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. Like this is a fun thing I've managed to do. I've put his dial inside the 0, or inside the O of Bach. That's an interesting thing about drawing, is that you can be exhausted and think, oh, I've done everything here. And then you'll do a drawing and it'll be like, oh, I didn't expect to draw that. That's fun. That's not a thing I expected to come out of my pencil. On the one hand, it's like, this is absolutely the sort of way I draw and absolutely the sort of thing that you would expect out of my pencil. On the other hand, I wasn't expecting it. So it's like, oh, no, it's new to me, even though it's very clearly something I would do. That's all, folks. You could be saying that. Let's give him a wee earring there, just for the sake of it. That's brilliant, PJ. Thank you very much. Hello, Van Hand. So I recommend you go and sign up to my mailing list, which is it's a tiny letter thing. You'll find a link on my Twitter, because I'm sure whenever I decide the next show is going to be, I will post up there whenever I come back. So I'll essentially have a summer break, and then I'll come back and do some more sketching. Let's go. He's a bit slobbery as a Mean Machine there. There, that's a fun one. I think that's fun. Let's erase a little bit here, a little bit there. Actually, quite a fun one, the ink, but I don't know if he wanted it inked, so I'm just going to pencil. Let's see. Next is Mean Machine. My choice. I don't know what to do for my choice. This is your time to think of something I can do. I'll recap very quickly with some of these other things. Here is Dread. The ink is dry on Dread, I think, so I can actually try them up there. So I don't know what to do for this one. That's my choice. So if anyone has a choice that they think would be good for me to do, let me know, and I'll see if I can do it. Pre-production work on animation is more like a consultant designer. The hard part is left to the production team. You're right. Let me do that then. Because you and Stas are so good in Twitter. There's no way to say this, but I do use Twitter to express much love for you. Well, thank you very much, Matthew. That's really kind of you. Write to 2000 AD and let them know that, because that will then maybe guarantee more work. It's weird, like people don't really write to comics anymore because Twitter and everything is so immediate, and you can pass on the stuff that you're thinking straight away, and it's great and it is lovely, and I love that immediacy of it. But there's still something to be said for a kind of letter to the editor kind of thing. So I still have my choice. I don't know what my choice. Trapper Hag. Oh, Trapper Hag would be good, wouldn't he? Alright, Steve picks it. Trapper Hag it is then. Always difficult when somebody says your choice, because I don't know if they're going to even know who Trapper Hag is. But let's presume they will, because it's a old style 2000 AD. Just add a bit of tone there to underneath Dread's chin. Oh, I copy them in, don't worry. Love that, Dread. No, you've got to write a letter, an actual proper letter. I mean, like, literally write a letter to 2000 AD and get it printed in there. That's the best way, because the editor reads the letters. They have to. Those are actual evidence. Trapper Hag, here we go. I've got to look up Trapper Hag. Why do I have to look up Trapper Hag? DuckDuckGo. Oh, do you know what? Maybe I will. Trapper Hag. I've got Trapper Hat is what's come up there. A Trapper Hat. No, I want Trapper Hag. Oh, here we go. Trapper Hag. Don't know if you know this. I did there's a Steve Dillon tribute version, tribute sketchbook that was done for 2000 AD, and I managed to get Jerry Paris, who was friends with Steve Dillon, and Jerry was actually an artist he was never on 2000 AD, but he did a lot of computer and video games comic stuff. I've talked about him every single show. I talk about him, but Jerry did Bug Hunters for Computer and Video Games magazine, and Lieutenant Law for that same magazine, and he's a great phenomenal artist. But anyway, I penciled Trapper Hag and got asked Jerry to ink it for me so we could do a nice little tribute to Steve, because he was friends with him, and that was lovely. It was lovely for twofold. One, because it was nice to do something in memory of Steve Dillon, and Trapper Hag was a pretty cool character that Steve designed, and so that was nice. It was also really nice to actually do something with Jerry, because he was such an important part of my growing up, although he didn't know it, obviously, and so that was kind of double bonus for me, really. Let's see. Oh, so Matthew Ellis, then the Trapper Hag's for you, right? Okay, I'm connecting the dots now. I'm not, I mean, you can accuse me of being slow, and that is true. I am slow. Trapper Hag. Keith Richardson, the 2000 AD Specials editor. I don't know if that's his actual title, but he's a huge Trapper Hag fan. Let's see how we're doing. Got a Catwoman next after this. Oh, that's why I couldn't draw Batman. I've got a Catwoman to do. Can't draw Batman and Catwoman. That'll become a pure DC evening then. That would be crazy. And that's it. So we're coming on our second hour, and I promise you this is... So after this drawing, one drawing of Catwoman, and that's the lot. That's her. That's everything. I want to thank everyone. I forget to say because I'm an idiot, but thanks for everyone who's joined in. Thanks to Willie Russell, who at least will constantly ask me questions when it's obviously I'm flailing about for something to talk about. Everyone can do that. I'm happy to answer any questions or whatever. If you're just content to sit and watch me draw, that's also nice. Don't feel under pressure to have to ask me anything. Being able to talk to artists and writers, etc. is weird when you have been reading the comic from early days, picking their brains and watching the art. Some real down-to-earth legends out there. There certainly are. That's like, for me, I forget that I've been doing the comic for 20 years. So I forget that my role as in a conversation is frequently, oh, you're one of those people who's done stuff for 2000 AD. And I forget that. I forget that I am one of those people who's been lucky enough to do stuff for 2000 AD. And I always think to myself, oh, I can't believe I got to talk to Dave Gibbons or whoever it is. I can't believe I get to talk to some real cool 2000 AD artists. When in fact, I too am a real cool 2000 AD artist. I forget that. I'm not really cool. I'm just a 2000 AD artist, but, it is still kind of cool. Trapper Hag is pretty ugly. Gotta be said. He's an ugly looking dude. A face not even a mother could love, I suspect. And green. He looks like a Morlock, I think. That's from the, what do you call it? One of the Morlocks. From the Eloi and the Morlocks from the Time Machine. There we go. Hope that's all right, Matthew. Let's give me a bit more fuzziness around here. So generally, when I'm doing a sketch, I don't really have a plan in my head of how it's going to go. There we go. There we go. I mean, for the most part, I'm doing headshots, so I kind of have a notion how it's going to go on these characters. So, Catwoman. Modern Catwoman. That's the binoculars and all the stuff. Short hair binoculars, isn't it? Catwoman. Do do do. I'm a Catwoman. Do do do. I like... Oh, all the pictures I'm getting are Catwoman from the movies. No, and I've typed in Catwoman movies into DuckDuckGo, so now it's even definitely Catwoman from the movies. Comics. Alright, so... okay, modern Catwoman with the glasses and that. Right, okay. Alright, let's do this then. You're getting shout-outs in Warren Ellis's newsletters, so you are part of the industry and looked up to, not on the outside. You just have always seemed to lack an ego about it. Oh, I have an amazing ego. Don't be fooled. I'm a monster of a human being. My nickname, genuinely, for a little while, was Mr. Ego. I have a huge ego. What I think I have, though, is a kind of proper understanding of my position in the industry, which is as someone who works in it, but isn't really, I'm not a superstar artist. That's cool. I don't want to be necessarily. It'd be nice to be able to be the guy that gets to turn down all the work all the time, but that's not who I am. I'm lucky in that I've got constant work so far, touch wood, constant work, and I'm kind of aware of how incredibly lucky that position is. I'm just sort of aware that the industry itself is really difficult. It's not, and talent alone and ability alone isn't going to see you all the way through it, because I know some incredibly talented artists that just have not had the work that they maybe should have done, or their ability was sort of compromised by other factors that they had either no control over, or that completely hammer blowed them for doing, for being as well known as they should have been. And I'm just kind of conscious of all of that stuff. I don't think, I think I'm good, and I think I can draw good sometimes. Sometimes I can draw really, really bloody good. But for the most part, I'm conscious that, that it's a struggle. It's always a struggle. Every drawing is a bit difficult, and, maybe not as good as I would like it to be necessarily. But yeah, I mean, I got a shout out in War Analysis newsletter, which was lovely, but it was because I posted on Twitter, said, would someone please ask War Analysis to plug my comic with my weekly folklore thing that I do, because I feel like it's completely in his wheelhouse. And I've been doing that for like a year, so you hadn't noticed till then. So, sometimes you've got to go looking for the plugs. She's wearing a kind of, I don't know what this helmet is thingy in about, but anyway, I'm a monster of a human being. The name of your second autobiography. You always seem super nice and laid back when I've met you. Well, thank you very much. I mean, to show you the mark of how egotistical I am, I don't recognise your name, and I don't know when we've met. So, I'm sorry about that. I'm always pleasantly surprised. I admit I'm kind of pleasantly surprised when people know who I am specifically, and know my work specifically, and that's lovely, because I kind of just think, just happy to get the work and get to do the work. That's great. And I say I'm in a very fortunate place in that I've been able to earn a living as a comic artist for like 10 years solidly, and prior to that 8 years doing working in IT and doing that. So I worked a real job before I did comics, and I'm conscious that I'm where I sit on the kind of what's the word, the pantheon of artists is, I followed guys like, in 2000 AD, you're following guys like Dave Gibbons and Brendan McCarthy and stuff, and it's like, oh well, you're never gonna, and those guys were amazing at the age of 20, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm 50 now and I'm still not as good as they were when they were in their 20s. So, but I'm just happy that I'm working, and sometimes I do good work, and sometimes I'm very happy that the audience go, more cake, and not this cake. So anyway, if I drew a sexy woman, it's purely by accident. It says more about you, Willie, and what you'll be attracted to than me. Goes back to the days of 2D and Derry. 2D. I missed 2D. It was great. What a great convention. We've had some... There was a time there when Northern Ireland... where Ireland had, it had 2D, and it had... what do you call it? Dice in Dublin. And it was like, oh, these are some cracking conventions. Some of the best conventions. The best crack. Let's see. This is the last sketch. Yay! Nearly done. So again, thank you for everyone for joining me. What I'll do is I'll very quickly, I'll show you all of the sketches I've done so far. And I'll probably post them all online as well, although I've been very poor at doing that. I mean, generally what I do, as soon as I'm finished, the first thing I do is a little break, and then I'll go away and I'll start putting things in envelopes to send off and making sure that they're going to their homes that they're going to. And I will not forget, Michael, that you want some red on Toby. There we go. Does that look alright? That looks alright, doesn't it? That looks okay. I don't quite know why she... I mean, the original idea was she was doing something. I don't know, maybe some... I don't know. I don't know. Something cat-like. I don't know what she was going to be doing. But anyway, there's that. Let's add a little bit of that. Drawing's great fun. And there we go. That's it. 2 hours plus 10 minutes. You drew Dread surfing a wolf on lava. I have to admit, when I was asked to draw Dread surfing a wolf on lava, I did raise several eyebrows. 2 of them were mine, and I borrowed other people's as well. But it was just strange. It's kind of like, what, he's doing what now? But that's okay. That was fun. That was fun to do. It's very hard to get it exactly right, but I was like, oh, okay. So let's show you what I've done right. So let's take the camera up a little bit without wrecking everything. There we go. Should I do them in order? I'll do them in order, will I? So Durham Red. Oh, we started the evening with Durham Red. God, I'd forgotten even that I was drawing Durham Red. Here we go. There we go, Durham Red. I think that's quite a nice Durham Red. Let's see if we can zoom in there. A lot of shading going on there. I was supposed to ink that, and like an idiot, I didn't. And so she ended up with a kind of pencil shaded style, but it actually looks quite nice, I think. Let's see, so that's Durham Red. What was next? Dan Dare. Okay, Dan Dare. Didn't really get talking about Dan Dare very much, but we drew him. Where is he? There you go. There's Dan Dare. Handsome. Get that little flick in of there. Big hair. Dimple in his chin. Handsome man. Thank you very much. I'm glad everyone seemed to have enjoyed it. It was fun to do. Let's see. Next was Dread for Michael Ward. So Dread. Oh God, where is Dread? Dread with a badge. I've got another Dread. Have I got a Dread? Oh no, that's the part of the triptych. Dope. You big dope. So let's put this together so you can see all of it together. That looks pretty neat, doesn't it, actually? There you go. There. So the deal with the show is that I only do one head sketch on an A5 piece of paper. Part of that's because postage makes it easier just for me to post. And so when I was asked if I could do these 3 characters, I went, I can't really do, like, I'm not doing big pieces. I said, but I could do each of them on a piece. And I wasn't expecting Michael to go for it, but he went, yeah, let's do that. And so thank you very much, Michael. I hope that you like that. I think your wife liked the Halo Jones. So what I'll do is I'll sign those individually, and then you've got them all in one little thing. So next after that was Kano Bad Company. Where is Kano? There we go. What a grumpy looking sod, isn't he? I'm a grumpy looking sod. I'm not very happy. Ooh, why does everyone think I look like Frankenstein? You can tell I've been at this too long now. Kano Bad Company. Dread with a badge. Dread with a badge. Dread with a badge. Here we go. Dread with a badge. Zane from Number Cruncher. There we go, Zane from Number Cruncher. I hope you like him. Philip O'Neill said, "Big great format, showcase your art." Thank you very much, Philip. It's a great way to get paid money to do sketches too. I'll not lie. Mean Machine. Oh, this is a fun Mean Machine. I think that Mean Machine's a lot of fun. Bok, Badoink. And finally, oh no, and then my choice, which we went with that guy, Trapper Hag. Oh yeah, Trapper Hag. And then finally, Catwoman. They said it couldn't be done. A sexy lady by me. Well, I said it couldn't be done, but I could do it. I did do it. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. I really appreciate you all having fun. I will go now and start... Well, I'm going to have a rest, actually, if I'm honest. And then I'll start packing up all these things. I'll point the camera more at my face, will I? All you're seeing is my barrel chest. Yeah, okay. Guys, thank you very much. That is me. It is all done. Show is over. Go home, collect your rubbish on the way out. And I'll see you all in probably August, I think, is when I'll be doing stuff again. And yeah, probably August, I think. If we get to do it again earlier than that, that'll be great. But sign up to my newsletter, find me on Twitter and all that stuff, and you can see it. And thanks. Bye.